What's going on, everybody? Champ is back with another execution today. It actually took place yesterday, but final verdict, just like I forgot which one it was, sometime in the past. Wanted to make sure they got their details right before posting the video, so this actually happened yesterday. So happy Friday, everybody, if you're watching this today. As usual, we will go ahead and get it popping. The link to the original video is down below. The link to the channel is down below. It's by Final Verdict. You know the drill. You know the drill. Go check them out. Go check them out. Grab a beer and go binge. Okay? This is gonna be crazy. So let's go ahead and get it popping. I'm tired as hell. Holy crap. I had one hell of a day today, and I'm on the verge of taking a nap. So let's go.
On June 11, 2026, after spending more than 25 years on death row, Jeffery Lee was scheduled to be executed by nitrogen hypoxia in Alabama.
Nitrogen hypoxia, the new one. That's basically where you breathe in shit. For those of you who don't know, nitrogen is deadly if it's just nitrogen alone. If it's mixed with oxygen, nothing happens, just so you know. Oh, and I forgot to tell you guys, if you want, go ahead and subscribe and leave a comment and all that.
Alabama. He walked into a pawn shop in Orrville, Alabama, asked a woman behind the counter to show him the rings, looked them over, and told her he didn't have the money yet. He said he would come back once he did. He came back, but not with money. He came back with a sawed-off shotgun. And the man he killed? He wasn't just a pawn shop owner. He was a recording artist, a man who once performed on stage as Orion, wearing a mask, singing in a voice so close to Elvis Presley's that people genuinely believed the king was still alive. This is what happened.
He looks like a wasp.
The
Look, he looks like a 19 like, why are you dressed up like a butterfly in like the 1970s? Oh, well, I'm not gonna make fun of him because he's the victim, but whatever, it's a gimmick. Just in case he takes. Yeah, I'm gonna have to read that later.
king was still alive. This is what happened.
Okay, here we go.
On the morning of December 12, 1998, Jeffery Lee had not slept. He had been up all night drinking alcohol, smoking marijuana, and ingesting cocaine. He was 21 years old. His first son had been born 2 months earlier. By the time the sun came up, he had been on a binge for hours. That morning, Jeffery, along with his brother and his cousin, drove to Jimmy's Pawn and Package store just outside Orrville in Dallas County, Alabama. The stated reason for the trip was that Jeffery wanted to look at a ring for his girlfriend.
He didn't.
The store was owned by a man named Jimmy Ellis. But Jimmy wasn't just a pawn shop owner. He was a singer. Born in Pascagoula, Mississippi, Jimmy had a voice that sounded so much like Elvis Presley's that Sun Records, the same label that launched Elvis, signed him in the 1970s.
Oh, okay, that was my next question. Was he actually signed? But I guess he was. I'd have to look him up. Orion. I'd have to look him up.
He performed under the stage name Orion, wearing a mask to play up the mystery.
It looks dumb. I disagree with this, buddy. I really do.
Recorded multiple albums. His fan club
bad.
numbered in the thousands. People bought his records wondering if maybe, just maybe, Elvis had faked his death and was still recording.
Okay, now you're being dramatic. No.
Jimmy eventually tore off his mask on stage, tried to make it under his own name, and when the fame faded, he came home to Orrville and opened a pawn shop.
Okay,
Working
so
alongside him was his ex-wife, Elaine Thompson.
Why are you working with your ex? You said your ex-wife?
Pawn shop. Working alongside him was his ex-wife, Elaine Thompson.
Yeah, why your ex?
When Jeffery walked in...
That's a fun job. Why the hell would you want to be co-owners with your ex-wife? That's a fun job.
That morning, he spoke with an employee named Helen King. Helen showed him the wedding rings on display. He looked them over. Then he told her he didn't have money with him, but that he would come back after he got some from his grandmother. And then he left. Jeffrey and the two men with him drove a short distance from the pawn shop. Jeffrey bought a pint of liquor. He drank it. Then he smoked marijuana laced with cocaine. And then, minutes later, all three of them turned around.
Okay, so he was normal when he went into the store. He was sober and everything. Well, or was he still high? Because he was on a binge. I'm just going to assume that he was still high. But he started to sober up when he was in the store, and now he's doped out of his mind again. That's what I'm going to roll with.
And drove back. Around noon, Jeffrey walked through the front door of Jimmy's pawn shop for the second time that day. But this time, he was carrying a sawed-off shotgun. And right inside the entrance, there was a big television screen.
Oh, shit! You got surveillance cameras! Yo, you got surveillance cameras. If you're listening to this instead of watching this, you need to watch this at some point. Let's rewind it.
And right inside the entrance, there was a big television screen showing the store's surveillance feed. Anyone walking in could see themselves being recorded. Jeffrey looked at that screen, and then he yelled, "What's up, motherfucker?" and opened fire. He shot Jimmy first. The blast hit him in the chest. Then Jeffrey turned the gun on Elaine and shot her in the face. He then shot Helen, the same woman who had shown him the wedding rings just hours earlier. Then he walked back to Jimmy and shot him again.
Why?
Jimmy died from the gunshot wound to his chest.
Now, like, to rob the store, sure, but...
Elaine died from the wound to her face. But Helen, who had been shot and was lying on the floor of the pawn shop, made a decision in that moment that saved her life. She lay completely still, didn't move, didn't make a sound.
She played dead.
She played dead.
My girl.
Jeffrey tried to take the cash register. He grabbed it, pulled at it, but it was wired to the counter. He couldn't get it free. And that was not it. He left $900 sitting in Jimmy's pocket.
Oh my God. So it was just a robbery attempt. You're just retarded.
He didn't take any jewelry. He didn't take anything from the safe. He just left the shotgun sitting on the counter and walked out. Helen waited until she heard him leave. Then she got up off the floor, picked up the phone, called 911, and locked the doors to the store. And then...
Why would you lock the door? Like, if paramedics are coming in, why'd you lock the door? Wouldn't you want them to come in and save you?
Jeffrey came back. He returned to the pawn shop
Wait,
to the
you
store.
came back?
And then Jeffrey came back.
Oh no.
He returned to the pawn shop and tried to re-enter. But
that was smart then! Damn me, I don't know what I'm talking about then.
Helen had already locked the door.
Yeah.
He couldn't get in.
Good move. Good move.
3 visits to that store in a single day.
Yeah.
First for rings, then with a shotgun, then trying to get back inside after 2 people were already dead on the floor. And the entire thing was captured on the store's surveillance camera. Jeffrey fled the scene with his brother and cousin. The 3 of them drove across the state line into Georgia, where they rented a motel room in Newnan in Coweta County.
FBI.
At some point after arriving, Jeffrey separated from the other 2. His brother and cousin drove back to Alabama, and then they did something Jeffrey probably didn't expect. They went straight to law enforcement and told them exactly what had happened.
Well, yeah, they were probably worried about their lives.
At approximately 4:30 in the morning on December 13th,
smack dab in the middle of the night, they do this on purpose. They do this to catch you completely unaware. Completely unaware. Almost right before the sun goes up, usually. Always. So that way, if you're doing drugs, there's a good chance you're going to be passed out. Or you're going to be so blitzed and messed up that you're not even going to know what the hell's going on. Like, it's just the surprise factor.
Officers arrested Jeffrey in that Georgia motel room.
Wow.
After his arrest, he signed a written confession. He admitted to the shootings, but he claimed the first shot was fired accidentally. That the
Shut up! It doesn't matter!
Gun just went off.
Oh, just went off. Oh boy, here we go. This is where they try to hit you with the very dumb excuses. I don't know what happened. It's like, I don't know what happened. Damn gun just went off. I don't know.
But the surveillance tape from inside the pawn shop told a different story. After Jeffrey's arrest, details about his background began to surface. He grew up in Dallas County, deep in Alabama's Black Belt.
Hold on 1 second. I gotta respond to a text. Sorry about that, guys. I swear, one of these days, I'm gonna learn how to edit videos. So sorry about that. Let's back it up a bit.
His background began to surface. He grew up in Dallas County, deep in Alabama's Black Belt. His family didn't have electricity or indoor plumbing well into the 1980s and 90s. He and his siblings pulled toys out of the local dump. His father beat him regularly. According to records that would surface years later, Jeffrey started huffing gasoline at the age of 8. Not alcohol, not drugs, gasoline. By the time he was 11, the headaches became so severe that he switched to alcohol. By his late teens, he had moved on to coke and crack.
I'm envisioning like getting so high off of fumes. Oh, that's a nightmare. Holy crap. My very first job, very first job back when I was like 15 was weed whacking the cemetery at my church. And we had the shittiest weed whacker. The fastest way to do it, because I wanted to get it over and done with, I don't care if it only took me 2 hours or something like that. The fastest way to do it is to go backwards and like walk backwards around the tombstones and do it that way. But the thing is, it was leaking so much gasoline and so much smoke that I would get high off the fumes and get just the worst kind of headaches. It was probably one of the most nauseating jobs I've ever had. And it wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to just be taking care of the cemetery. Oh,
Then came the car accident.
bad.
A tractor trailer hit Jeffrey's vehicle. According to his attorneys, the impact left him with a traumatic brain injury. They said it affected how he thought, how he controlled his impulses, how he made decisions. They said he never received proper medical care for any of it. But none of that changes what the surveillance camera recorded inside that pawn shop. Jeffrey could not afford to hire a lawyer. He was appointed defense counsel who had never tried a capital murder case before.
Oh boy.
The attorney's primary defense strategy was to argue that Jeffrey was mentally retarded.
No, I think he was just doped out on drugs. He definitely had a bad rap growing up, if that, everything was 100% true, but...
His exact words during trial: "Nobody is going to get up here and argue that Jeffrey shouldn't be punished, but keep in mind about the mental retardation." The prosecution approached jury selection aggressively. Jeffrey is black. Jimmy, Elaine, and Helen were all white. The prosecutor...
It wasn't racial. I don't see this being a racial crime. I think this guy was an idiot and he wanted to rob the store and it didn't work. Probably because he was just so doped out on so many drugs. That's what happened.
Used every single one of his 21 peremptory strikes to remove black potential jurors from the panel. All 21. The trial lasted less than 2 days. The evidence was overwhelming. Helen was alive to testify.
That's
She had
amazing.
spoken with Jeffrey face-to-face twice on December 12th, once when he came to look at rings, and once when he came back with the shotgun. The surveillance video corroborated everything she said. Jeffrey's own written confession corroborated it further, and the jury convicted him of 2 counts of capital murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Then came the sentencing phase, and this is where the case took a turn that would define the next 25 years.
Oh boy, what happened?
After the conviction, the jury had to decide Jeffrey's sentence. Under Alabama law at the time, their vote was only a recommendation. The judge had the final say, and the jury voted 7-5 that Jeffrey should spend the rest of his life in prison
so the
without the
judge-
possibility of parole.
I was thinking that was what he should have gotten. If everything he said was true and he had that brain injury and all that kind of stuff, I think he should have gotten life in prison personally. But the judge was the one that was like, "No, you're getting sentenced to death." That's interesting. Okay. That judge don't mess around.
The judge disagreed. He
That's
overrode the
crazy.
jury and sentenced Jeffery Lee to death. For the next 25 years, Jeffrey's attorneys fought that sentence through every court available to them, all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. But every appeal was denied, and in 2017, Alabama abolished judicial override entirely, agreeing that judges should never again overrule a jury's sentencing decision. But they made the change non-retroactive. Jeffrey stayed on death row. His attorney, Leslie Smith, put it plainly. Alabama fixed the law. Jeffery Lee is still paying the price for when it was broken.
That's
Jeffrey
true,
spent
yeah.
26 years on death row. In that time, he became a ministry leader, a chaplain's assistant, and a mentor. He tried to raise his son from behind bars.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
His prison record showed 0 violent infractions, not one in more than a quarter century. Sister Helen Prejean, the author of Dead Man Walking, was one of the people.
I remember her. The other night, I couldn't sleep, so I Wikipedia death row people from 1984 because I was born in 1984. This is a nun who is very anti death row. She doesn't like death row, and she'll go visit people who are on death row, forgive them of everything, and she'll be their spiritual advisor. Yeah, I know this. Well, I don't know this chick, but I know that's what she does. She wrote, I think, a couple books or something like that too, about her experiences. I don't know how many people she's seen though, but yeah, she's been seeing people for decades.
Who tried to save his life.
If that's who I'm thinking of.
She said a guard once told her, "You know, the man we're killing tonight is different from that young, brash animal that came in here cursing God and everybody. He's changed his life." And she said, "This is definitely true of Jeffrey." In a statement from death row, Jeffrey said, "When this crime happened, I didn't know their names. I wanted to know because in my prayers, I wanted to include their names. I didn't know until I was arraigned." He didn't know their names. He shot them, left them on the floor, fled to Georgia, and didn't learn who they were until a judge read the charges.
That's not really that surprising though, if you really think about it. I mean, that would happen to me. Well, first of all, I wouldn't shoot these guys at all, but like, let's say that I went down to the pawn shop and I just met these guys face to face. I don't know who they are. And even if they did tell me what their names are, I guarantee you I would forget about it in 15 minutes because I'm terrible with names. So, yeah.
Years later, he said something else. "Jeffery Lee today is not who he was 28 years ago. I'm more caring, more honest, more open, and I live in a way that honors life. Now I see life as being sacred. It means everything." But it didn't matter how much he had changed, because in March 2026, his death warrant was signed. His execution was scheduled for June 11th, 2026. In an interview from death row before the execution date, Jeffrey said, "I believe in God, and I haven't heard from him that June 11th is my last day on earth. I have to believe that." And he was right, because what would happen the day before his scheduled execution would change everything.
Did they reverse it?
On June 10th, a federal judge stepped in. Her name was Emily Marks, and she ruled that nitrogen gas, the method Alabama had used to execute 7 people before Jeffrey, was unconstitutional, too cruel, a violation of the 8th Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment.
How? How? Do it anyway.
The court found that when nitrogen gas replaces the air a person is breathing, the body experiences what experts called severe air hunger, emotional distress, and physical discomfort.
What the fuck is severe air hunger? Yeah, suffocation. Yeah, exactly. It's just like smoke inhalation. That's a very interesting. Oops. That's a very interesting way to say it. What did you say?
Experts called severe air hunger.
Severe air hunger. So if I choke somebody to death, they just have severe air hunger. Just give them some air. They're fine. Yeah.
Emotional distress.
I never heard it referred to that way.
Physical discomfort for 1 to 3 minutes before death. A federal court ruled that 1 to 3 minutes of discomfort before death was too cruel for Jeffrey. Jimmy and Elaine didn't get 1 to 3 minutes. They didn't get a warning. They didn't get a ruling. They got a shotgun blast in the middle of their workday from a man who had asked to see wedding rings. Jeffrey's legal team had proposed an alternative. If Alabama couldn't use nitrogen gas, they said, the state could use a firing squad instead.
I was going to say lethal injection, but yeah, firing squad. Sure. I heard that, like, I heard that, I don't think they do this in Alabama, but I heard that if anybody was executed by firing squad, they would put the real bullet in just a random ass gun, mix it all up, so that way whoever actually shot the killing blow, they would never know. But I don't think that happens in Alabama.
The same man who shot 3 people inside a pawn shop was now asking the court to let the state shoot him because being suffocated was too cruel.
Plus, it would be ironic, don't you think? To go out the exact same way as your victims. I think this would be the only time that would ever happen. You know, if you burn somebody alive, your execution is not going to be you getting burned alive. So, firing squad. Why not?
The judge agreed that a firing squad would work.
Yeah.
She called it feasible, readily implemented, and a significantly reduced risk of harm. But Alabama doesn't authorize firing squad executions. And
then move him to a state that does. Problem solved. Transfer his ass to a state that does. Problem solved.
The state had no intention of stopping. The state took it all the way to the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court said no. But here's what most people don't know. The judge's ruling only blocked nitrogen gas. Alabama still had lethal injection on the books. They still had the electric chair.
Don't do the electric chair is so old school. If you were to ask me which one would be the most cruel and unusual punishment, it would, without question, be the electric chair. Imagine if you survive that shit, but, like, your eyes explode and all these gross-ass shit happens, and, oh my god, it's gotta be the... You wouldn't die instantly, and... Yeah, that one would be cruel and unusual. Just do lethal injection, then. Who gives a shit? Like, why are we fighting about this?
The judge even said so herself. She wrote that Jeffrey was, quote, not entitled to an injunction barring the state from executing him using one of those methods.
Yeah, so just pick
Lethal
one.
injection was available. The electric chair was available. Nothing was stopping Alabama from using either one, but they chose not to. They let the execution window close, and Jeffery Lee stayed alive. After the ruling, Jeffrey called from Holman Correctional Facility. He said, it's like an expected sigh of relief in one aspect, and then you still got to stay and maintain your focus and continue to fight. As of today, Jeffery Lee is 49 and still alive. He is still on death row at Holman Correctional Facility. He is still sentenced to
The fuck? Just eeny, meeny, miny, moe that shit. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Oh, lethal injection? Okay, let's go. Why are we fighting about how he gets executed? Hang his ass. I don't know. In my opinion, he shouldn't even be executed in the first place. I agree with the jury. I think he should have gotten life in prison without parole. Personally. I mean, I'm just a car detailer. What the hell do I know? But now he's still alive. No execution even took place. I'm making this video for nothing. It's just like that botched execution of a few weeks back. Botched. Holy crap. No wonder people are against the death penalty. They can't even get their executions right.
But no one can say when or if that sentence will ever be carried out. Jimmy Ellis was 53. He spent his life chasing music from talent shows in Orville to recording sessions at Sun Records in Nashville to sold-out stages where thousands believed they were hearing the voice of Elvis Presley himself. When the spotlight moved on, he came home and opened a pawn shop. That is where he died, standing behind his own counter with his ex-wife. In the middle of a Saturday...
Why your ex-wife? I don't get that part. Are they at least, like, friends or something? I'm sorry, that just seems awkward as hell. Okay, first of all, I'm never gonna get married. Let's just keep it the hell 100% here. But, or 100 as the kids say. That's what the saying was. But if I ever have a job and or a business and I'm a business owner, I'm not gonna own it with my ex-wife. Oh my god.
Afternoon.
Scanner. I left the scanner on, my bad.
And Helen King, the woman who showed Jeffrey the wedding rings, survived by playing dead, locked the door behind him, and lived to testify at his trial. She is the reason the world knows exactly what happened inside that store. What do you think? Has justice been served?
Just keep him alive then, in my opinion. That's my opinion about it. I say keep him alive. You know. So no set execution left, huh? So an execution didn't even take place. And they're just fighting about how they're gonna do it. That's weird, dude. Well, I guess somebody didn't die. And in this case, I think it's okay because like I said, I agree with the jury 100%. I think this guy should have gotten life in prison. Not everybody that gets sent to death row deserves to die, in my opinion, and this is a case that I agree with. There are definitely some fuckers that do. Don't get me wrong, but there it is, the not execution that happened. Leave your thoughts down below and everything. I hope you guys have a great day. And there's going to be 2 videos right here, probably death row related. So make sure you click on those. Make sure you subscribe to Final Verdict. And I'll catch you on with the next one. We have one more in the month of July. One more in the month of July. Now that I know that executions don't get carried out, apparently. We might not. And after that, there's actually no more executions until mid-August. So we got a huge break when it comes to executions. So those videos that were on the side are probably not there, and I was just doing this for no reason. They're probably up there now. There's 2 videos right here. Right here. Right.